This is the new MG ZS, and while it is bigger and smarter than ever before, it is more expensive. MG is initially launching a hybrid powertrain first, available in 2 trim levels, the Excite and Essence. Here we're testing the latter, but a full petrol model will be available next year, which is expected to be quite a bit cheaper. But with the price bump, you are getting a more refined package. In terms of the design, it takes on the new design direction from MG, as we saw with the HS midsize SUV. Just a bit bolder and bigger, more curvy than chiseled, but the overall silhouette is pretty similar to the previous model. Underneath, it remains a front-wheel drive setup only with a torsion beam rear suspension setup. In the hybrid's case, there's also a 1.83 kWh battery tucked under there. The Essence comes with these 18-inch alloy wheels, which look pretty good in my opinion, but they're wrapped in cheap 215/50 tyres. Braking performance isn't the best. And then inside, yeah, this is completely different to the previous model. You've got a big 12-inch touchscreen embedded into the dash, a more modern center console area with a wireless phone charger, some storage space and a pair of cup holders, a nice big center console box, and then MG's latest steering wheel. Passenger space remains really good for this specific class, and the seats are reasonably comfortable and supportive. This example has also got the full sunroof as well, which helps to brighten up the cabin. And then in the back, plenty of legroom. It's actually one of the most spacious in this class, and you've got climate vents and charging options down there on the center console. There is no flip down armrest though, but you do get bottle holders in the doors. Up at the back, the boot has increased in capacity from 359 litres to 443. This example also comes with a pet spider. Part of that increase in space though is because there's no spare tyre under the floor, only a tyre repair kit. There is a small tub under there though, so you can chuck some wet items in there. As for the powertrain, this is the same 1.5 litre 4-cylinder hybrid as featured in the MG3. Here it produces 158 kilowatts, which is very impressive for this class. MG claims 0 to 100 in 8.7 seconds, with a fuel consumption average of 4.7 litres per 100 kilometres. That's pretty good, but there are hybrids out there that chew less than that. It's paired with a 3-speed hybrid automatic transmission. Out on the road, it's definitely a more refined vehicle overall. Like, it feels more together. A lot of the trim and everything is a bit more higher quality, and the cabin acoustics have improved over the previous model for sure. It's still a practical and easy vehicle to drive. You've got great visibility out the front, including out the back. The D-pillar is a little bit thick, but as usual in most modern SUVs, they're all a little bit thick, but this is actually pretty good. But being a small SUV, you can kind of get a good sense of your dimensions outside anyway, so you know where the vehicle is sitting on the road. It's quite easy to park. It is a sort of semi-upright SUV cabin orientation as well, so you've got nice tall windows and yeah, perched up view, so I can see over the top out the front very easily. In terms of the powertrain, yeah, the 3-speed automatic, or the whatever it is, the kind of 3-speed automatic, it's a little bit strange because it really depends on the level of battery that you have, and you can't really control that. So yeah, at times it feels like a CVT where the engine's just revving at a certain point and staying there, whereas other times it'll behave a bit like an electric vehicle and you can't even hear it changing gears. But then at higher speed, you can feel that it's pulsing through the different speeds. And it really depends, the performance really relies on that battery level as well. So as you'll see in the upcoming performance test, it's you've got variable 0 to 100 basically, depending on that battery level. In terms of the ride quality, yeah, it's a pretty soft SUV like it sort of always has been, but it's absorbing country roads like this quite well. It seems like it's got a lot of suspension travel there as well, so it can take those bigger bumps and potholes and so on. It just means that when you're going through a twisty section of road, that it can feel a little bit sloppy. It's not as sloppy as the previous model, but it's still a little bit there. During the performance test, I did some slalom runs down the private road just to get a sense of what it feels like. I always do it at 70 kilometers an hour in most vehicles, and yeah, this feels like the front end really tips over and pushes heavily on the right, I mean the left or right corner wheel, and then the back sort of lifts up a bit as well. So yeah, it's not a handling machine. It never was intending to be. It's just something to note. If you are after a small SUV that handles quite nice, then something like the Mazda CX-3 definitely does feel a bit more engaging on a twisty road. But yeah, as I said, this is not intending to be a sports SUV, so I don't know, I guess it passes just okay if you're after a city vehicle, you know, just running around town or the suburbs, not really going on big country roads, then this will be totally fine. But if you're driving on big long country roads like this all the time, I find it's a little bit bouncy for my liking. I'd like something a bit more tied down. Not for any other reason, but just better security and stability on the road. Fuel consumption, I'm averaging 7.3, but when I did jump in the car, it said 6.2. So it depends on how you're driving, and again, it depends on that battery level. Overall, I think the positive takeaways are that it is definitely more refined and a bit more luxurious compared with the previous model. It's a bit more grown up. The interior is much nicer. I like the touch screen, very conventional, home button and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got some climate controls and volume buttons, which I don't really like. I'd rather a twist knob, but it's mostly there. Some of it is a little bit confusing, such as these steering wheel buttons. You've got to get your head around these. Once you select this little folder button, then you can change around the different view, so you can check the battery level and so on. But yeah, and then this side's got the cruise control system. Once you activate that, it's just a little bit confusing at first, but once you get used to it, I guess it starts to make sense. It's still pretty big inside, as we saw, so if you are after a small SUV that has decent amount of room, then that's a good trait of the MG ZS. The prices have climbed up a little bit with the hybrid technology, so it's no longer, you know, one of the really cheap models that you can get, but compared with others that are starting to creep up as well, it's still, you know, a relatively cheap new SUV. All right, let's head out now to the private road and do some performance tests to see what it goes like. I'll do a few different runs with different battery levels and see what sort of performance it offers with empty, you know, near full, and sort of a mid-level battery. Battery at pretty much empty, and that was 15 seconds. So it really makes a difference how full the battery is, what sort of performance you're getting. So I'll try that again. I've got, yeah, pretty much zero battery there. I've got aircon off, I'm in sport mode. I'll turn the stability control off just in case. That slows us down a little bit, but it probably won't. So that's full throttle, still full throttle. My foot is mashed into the ground. Still. That was slightly quicker that time, 12.8 seconds. It's, yeah, very variable and really depends on that battery level.